Hi everybody! I wanted to show you how to make kombucha today. I've made a video about this before. For some reason I cannot get it uploading to my channel. I've tried a couple of different ways. It's not working, so I'm just going to make another one. Get an opportunity to show off my nice new countertops anyway. In the old one I still had that tile countertop, and this is so pretty. The ladies from Pastor Manly Perry's church and the people from his church gifted me with these beautiful countertops about a year ago. So I'm very, very happy. Every day I'm really happy when I work in my kitchen. They really brighten my day. So I'm glad they get to make an appearance in this video. Anyway, back to what I was talking about, kombucha. Kombucha is really easy to make. If you know how to brew a cup of tea, you can make kombucha. It's that easy. Now you're making a really big cup of tea, but pretty much the same principles apply. So all you need is a gallon jar. I buy these on Azure Standard. You need a kombucha SCOBY. You need 1 cup of organic sugar. You need 4 bags of black tea. I like to get this store brand one from Whole Foods, but any organic tea will work. You need 1 paper towel and 1 rubber band. That's all. So the first thing you want to do when you make kombucha is you want to brew your black tea. So I'm going to start with that. You simply put 4 tea bags two into your large gallon jar, and you pour hot water on to steep. Now you could fill the jar all the way, but that would give you really hot tea. And you cannot add the SCOBY until the tea is cooled down to room temperature. So I typically only like to brew all 4 bags in a half jar, so a half gallon of water, because that way when it's done brewing and I pull the tea bags out, I can then add cold water, which will immediately bring it down to room temperature. I can immediately put my SCOBY in at that point, and I can go on with life rather than having to check later tonight, did it cool down, then I might forget, So I only like to fill it halfway with hot water. I'm going to let this steep for 20 minutes, and in 20 minutes I'm going to show you how to finish this batch. Now sometimes people ask, I prefer to use green tea. Is it okay to use green tea? Can I use herbal tea? You can use green tea because green tea is actually a variation of black tea. I think it's not roasted or whatever they do to the tea. The green tea is like the raw leaves. You can use green tea, however, it will weaken your SCOBY over time. So if you're like trying to do a batch and then take that SCOBY and put in another batch of green tea and then another, your SCOBY will keep getting weaker and weaker. So if you like green tea, I suggest you alternate with making 1 batch of black 1 week and then the following week do a green and then a black again, just to give the SCOBY a chance to catch up and get nice and strong again. So anyway, I'm just going to let this sit here for 20 minutes and steep, and I'll be back in 20 minutes to show you how to do the next step. Alright, so my tea is done brewing. I am simply going to pull out the tea bags. Now these tongs are silicone coated. Some people say that a SCOBY shouldn't be handled with metal tongs, or anything fermented shouldn't be handled with metal anything. It is stainless steel. I always use metal tongs. Sometimes I use the ones with the silicone, sometimes no. I've never found it makes a difference. So I think if it's stainless steel, you have nothing to worry about. So I'm going to pull out these 4 tea bags. So this is double strong tea now. So I'm going to add the sugar at this point because the tea is really hot still. So adding the sugar at this point will make it dissolve faster. So you need 1 cup of sugar. And the reason why they say it's important to use organic is because the microorganisms could really suffer and not turn out good kombucha or ferment right if there's pesticides on your tea or on your sugar. I don't know if it's true. That's all we use anyway, so I've never tried it with anything else. You might get just as good results with conventional tea and conventional sugar. but typically the instructions say to use organic. So anyway, I have my half gallon of hot black tea. I'm pouring in 1 cup of organic sugar, and I'm just going to stir this until it dissolves. There it goes. I'm going to top this off now with cold water. This is cold water. To about, probably within about an inch or 2, more like 2 of the top. Right there. It's not really, you don't have to measure your water or anything like that. Oh, did you see the cat made a cameo in the back there? So this tea is now room temperature. I'm going to add a little more water because my tea is a little bit hot today. Yep, so if it feels nice to the touch, you know it's the right temperature. You don't want to go above like 104, you'll kill your SCOBY. So at this point, I'm going to add the SCOBY. Let me give that one stir just to mix up the water and the tea. Now these SCOBYs, I keep these in the fridge. When they're not in use, they go in the fridge. So I just grab one. It's kind of pancake shaped because it will assume the shape of whatever the jar is that you're using, you know. So here's the SCOBY. I'm going to throw that in there. And then I will add about 1/4 cup of kombucha that is in the jar, just because that gives it a chance. It's kind of like a kickstart to the fermentation process. So I have my SCOBY in here, my sugar, a little bit of kombucha, the black tea, and now all that this needs to do is ferment. And to allow it to ferment, it has to stay at room temperature. And it needs to have a paper towel over it so it can breathe. And you want to secure the paper towel with a rubber band. Just like so. And I will leave this on the counter, not in this spot because it would get knocked down and make a sticky mess. I'm going to move it to a corner of my kitchen counter. I will let it ferment anywhere from 4 to 7 days. It's getting hot here in Arizona, so this will only sit for 4 days. You can tell that it's done. And in the winter, I can tell it takes more like 7 days. Because 2 things will happen. Number 1, this will start becoming effervescent. You will see it bubble and take on, you know, kind of like a carbonated water. You'll see the bubbles rise. And this SCOBY will grow a new SCOBY. And the new SCOBY will be right the exact same shape of the top of your tea. So it will be like a pancake and that same exact width. And it will grow on the top because this SCOBY will still be there, but it'll also grow a new one. So if you start with 1, you end up with 2. You'll have a new SCOBY, and it will become effervescent. And you can even, if you want, take off the rubber band and the paper towel, take a fresh, clean spoon, and take a taste. And the longer you let it go, the less sugar there will be left, because the bacteria that ferments this kombucha, that ferments the tea into kombucha, the bacteria is eating the sugar. So the longer it goes, the more tart it becomes. It almost tastes vinegary. So when it reaches the sweetness that you like right now it would be way too sweet for my taste. But in about 4 or 5 days, it'll have tang, but not be too tangy or too sweet, kind of like lemonade. So when it has the right flavor that you like, that's when it's time to be done with it. So anyway, I'm going to put this away, let it sit for 4 days, and I'll be back in about 4 days to show you how I finish this. Alright, it is now Friday afternoon. I started this batch of kombucha on Monday morning, so it's been 4.5 days, and it is now done and fermented. And I don't know how well you can see this on the camera, but the color changed to a slightly lighter color, and you can tell, or maybe you can, that there are now 2 SCOBYs here. The one that was originally in it is here, and then there's another one, and it's also bubbly along the edge. You can see the bubbles more when I move that SCOBY around. And basically where there was 1 SCOBY, there are now 2 stuck on top of one another. That's me pulling them apart here. So at this point the kombucha is really done brewing. And I could just simply remove the SCOBY, and I like to store it in the fridge in a quart jar. And a little bit of kombucha, enough to cover it. So this is now done kombucha. I could just put that in the fridge like that and be done with it. I could also bottle it in smaller bottles, typically with a vented cap. And the reason for that is that even though it is done and I have removed the SCOBY, because there's a little bit of the culture left in it and the particles of the SCOBY, it will continue to ferment. In fact, if I left this on the counter, it would grow another new SCOBY. But even in the fridge where it's cold, it will slowly continue to ferment. So over the course of maybe a week or two later, the bottle could build up so much gas that it could actually explode the jar if it were not vented. So a lot of people move them to those flip-top style bottles that are vented and bottle them in that so that the extra air pressure will release naturally. Well, in our house, the kombucha doesn't last that long. This is how much we go through in about a week. So I simply put a lid on this and put it in the fridge. And then we drink it before it needs to be vented. However, what I typically like to do, this is now just kombucha fermented black sweetened tea. But what I like to flavor it. And there's lots of ways to flavor it with different fruits. Our favorite is berries. Now, I either use a triple berry blend like this one, or I just use some strawberries. Strawberries are the favorite of ours when we just use one berry blend. So I only have a little bit of the triple berry blend left. I'm going to use that on this batch here. And I simply dump that in here. And that's kind of lean, so I'm going to add a few strawberries to it today. I usually go for a look of about a single layer of berries at the top, you know, maybe like an inch layer of berries at the top. And this will now re-ferment. And you can already see the kombucha going red and the bubbles rising. So I will simply let this, I will put the paper towel back on, and I will let it ferment a second time now with the fruit overnight. And at that point, I will remove the fruit and the kombucha will be done, but it will also be flavored. So I will do that with both here. So I simply remove the paper towel. I remove the SCOBY. I pour off a little bit because for my next batch, I will need a SCOBY and a quarter cup of kombucha. It is done. It can now be drunk as kombucha, or if you like to add flavor, you can do so at this point. Do you see, I don't know if you can see on the camera the fizz is coming up, but I will just simply let it sit until tomorrow morning. And then I will finish showing you how to do this. Okay, it is now Saturday morning. I started this kombucha on Monday morning. I let it ferment with a SCOBY in it until Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon I pulled out the SCOBYs. The kombucha was done at that point, but I wanted to flavor it more, so I put in mixed berries in one and strawberries in this other one. And you can see how the kombucha is now not a golden yellow anymore. Now it's red from the berries. So now the kombucha is done brewing, but it's also flavored. And the only thing that's left is for me to pull out this extra fruit. And you can throw this away, although that's kind of a crying shame. If you have chickens, it's very, very healthy for the chickens because these berries are probiotic, so it helps keep the chickens healthy. It prevents sauerkraut. We don't have chickens anymore, but our chickens used to love these. Depending on your family's appetite, some of my kids like eating these berries. And I actually like putting them in my oatmeal in the morning. So even though they have a slight tang to them, and I wouldn't want to eat them straight up like this, some of my kids do, I don't. The oatmeal takes that flavor out nicely and balances it, so you can still make use of these berries if you want to do something besides tossing them out. You can see the strawberries have almost turned white there. That's where that red color is coming from in the kombucha. And you can tell how foamy it is. That's because it's even more bubbly today than it was yesterday. So this is the triple berry. This is the strawberry. And I'm not going to bother bottling it because this will only last a couple of days in our house. I simply put a lid on it. And I will move it to the fridge at this point to stop the fermentation process. So there you have it, homemade kombucha. Very cheap and super easy.